Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be dissertating and talking about part 2 of Nelson Mandela's natal horoscope or natal chart. The first thing I want to talk about in this second part of this chart is that he has Mercury conjunct Saturn, and this can show discipline, study, and connection, possibly with the law, and that's why he was very studious regarding this, because this conjunction did occur in his ninth house. It also shows unfortunately possibly inhibited or restricted speech, which I know sounds kind of odd maybe for somebody as outgoing and gregarious as him, but the fact he was incarcerated for a number of years indicates he wasn't really able to voice entirely maybe what he wanted, and or especially when he wanted to do it. So anyway, the next thing I want to talk about, he has 3 planets in Leo. I don't consider it a stellium because two of the planets had a 9-degree, around 9 degrees separation, but or over 8, and there were 2 outer planets, and I only use 8-degree orb when for conjunctions as far as I guess you could say 2 outer planets go. But he did have three planets in Leo, and this could be connected strongly with his notoriety and recognition, public acclaim that he received. He showed uncommon valor, courage, and fortitude. He obtained over 250 honors. This is a man that showed, in his own quiet way, I think a lot of Leo characteristics in this, in this manner. He, for next thing I want to talk about with him is Uranus was in Aquarius in his 3rd house. This can indicate his radical, revolutionary, viewpoints, and his need for eradicating or abolishing apartheid, and the fact that he almost maybe came across as rebellious, maybe in his expression of his views, type of person, probably had ideas that came very extemporaneously, very impulsively, and very quickly, and a lot of people viewed him, his ideas maybe as somewhat unorthodox, and I think this could be attributed largely to Uranus and Aquarius in his 3rd house of communication. Now the next thing I want to talk about, he had his ascendant conjuncted the North Node. Now this could indicate somebody that achieved some kind of notoriety, prominence, indicating largely why I think he had a very charismatic and magnetic quality about him, and this is somebody that can gain some kind of world renowned in its best case scenario, and he did. Now he had the conjunction took place from his 12th house, and maybe that's kind of tied in with the incarceration, in that he gained public acclaim in a certain way for somebody that was resilient and bounced back from all those years that he had been in prison, and went on to great honors, acclaim, and achievement in his life. Now another thing I want to talk about, on August 5th, 1962, he was captured and arrested. At this point in time, that transiting Uranus and Pluto conjuncted his midheaven, which rules standing in the community and possible notoriety and recognition. Unfortunately, when you have Uranus and Pluto both conjuncting something like this midheaven, it could indicate unexpected changes, upheavals associated with I guess with your standing in the community, and obviously his career and job, career status was obviously affected because he was imprisoned at this time and was not able to work obviously for that period that he was incarcerated. So sadly enough, this was something that had very it was very negative in terms of any as far as an unanticipated change and upheaval that had upheavals that had occurred in his life at this point in time. Now his date of release was on February 2nd, 1990. Now obviously the Sun is in freedom-loving Aquarius at this time, so I'm not really flabbergasted or shocked that, on the Sun's position at this point in time as well, transiting Jupiter had conjuncted his natal Jupiter. So this is obviously a very providential and fortuitous aspect. Actually, the conjunction was less than 1 degree in the sign of Cancer, in his 7th house. So it showed, the reconciliation, with his home and family life, and getting back together with them, and winning, and also auspicious for his public, public life as well, being the fact that Jupiter had transited his 7th house, and that's relationships, partnerships. So that was very, beneficial as far as that sector of his life went at that point in time. Now, last but not least, his death occurred sadly on December 5th, 2013. And at this point in time, Jupiter had transited his natal 8th house. Now I know it's not necessarily a big misconception, but I think, generally Jupiter is a benign and beneficial planet, but sometimes it can just kind of expand and enlarge on things, and it transited his 8th house of death at this time. And I think, sometimes it can, increase something, a chance, something connected with that particular house, positive and or negative. And perhaps this was attributed to his, his death at this point in time, or at least, the fact Jupiter transiting his 8th house did play a role in this, I'm thinking. Well, anyway, people, that will conclude part 2 for Nelson Mandela's natal chart, and stay tuned next time, where I'll be dissertating and talking about continuing my chart rulers segments, and I'll be talking about the ruler of the 1st house posited in the 11th house in a natal chart. 2 things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis on a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone, because a person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart, and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.